And Jesus did not stop them. It's a moment carefully arranged by God. And that's where the scene swelled. Everything happened exactly as Jesus said it would. He did more than just refuse.
You're watching Timeless Talks, timeless subjects, information for life.
In the beginning of Mark 11, Jesus enters Jerusalem in what we oftentimes call the triumphant entry. But this is far more than just a parade scene. It's a moment carefully arranged by God. It was predicted for centuries earlier, and the common people involved understood the message. But today, many miss that point. Now, before you start saying to yourself, what does this matter to me? Well, let me tell you this. If Jesus truly revealed himself as king on that day, then that changes how he expects us to see him, and even more important, how we live before him. If Jesus is the king of your life, you understand your place in relationship to him. He is the king, and we're just the peasants, his servants. But life is simple. If Jesus is the king in our lives, you trust his authority. No one, including ourselves, have the right to challenge the king. If Jesus is the king of your life, you have the opportunity and privilege to live under his care. He is our benefactor and will supply every need. And if Jesus is the king of your life, your faith can flourish as you continually follow him. But the big question is he your king? Let's walk through what happened on this particular day and see for ourselves. Let's see if he really is king. As Jesus approached Jerusalem, he sent 2 disciples to a nearby village. He gave them very specific instructions and information. They would find a colt of a donkey tied there. No one had ever ridden this animal. Their instructions were to untie it and bring it to him. And if anyone asked why they were taking possession of it, the response was to be, "The Lord has need of it." Well, they obeyed and went. And everything happened exactly as Jesus said it would. He had predicted the future, and it had come true. They brought the colt to Jesus. They placed their coats on it as a signal or a sign to where that everyone who would be seeing him would know what the sign was. Then Jesus sat on the colt. Then the small procession began moving toward Jerusalem. And that's where the scene swelled. As others recognized the riding of a colt with cloaks on it, they began to spread their cloaks on the road. They recognized the sign. Others ran to the edges of the fields and cut branches and laid them down on the road. Jesus was receiving the ultimate red carpet treatment of his day. The crowds began shouting in Mark 11, verse 9, "Hosanna!" and "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." They were welcoming him like royalty as he entered the city. And Jesus did not stop them. Instead, he accepted their worship, their less than formal proclamation that he was the promised king. He rode into Jerusalem. He went to the temple. He looked around, then left Jerusalem, going to Bethany. He left quietly, deliberately, purposefully. Now, do we, the enlightened people of the 21st century, did we miss anything? Did you and I recognize all the indicators as to who Jesus was? On that day, both those who watched and those who participated recognized the symbols and the meanings. Every detail about this day shouted at them. They recognized 5 symbols. Let's see what they were. First, they recognized the donkey. In the ancient world, kings rode donkeys in times of peace. So this was a symbol of a peaceful royalty. The second symbol, a colt that had never been ridden. Animals unused by men were reserved for sacred purposes. They were set apart or sanctified, we might say. Third, the coats on the animal and the robe. The first recorded time garments were placed under a king was when Jehu was pronounced king. The people laid garments beneath him, and it was an act of submission. Listen to 2 Kings 9. Then in haste, every man of them took his garment and put it under him on the bare steps. And they blew the trumpets and proclaimed, Jehu is king. The fourth symbol was the crowd's praise. They used words from Psalms 118. Hosanna is a Hebrew word meaning, oh, save. The language of Psalms 118 is tied to deliverance. And the fifth symbol, Jesus accepted it all. The Pharisees, who were already trying to get Jesus out of the picture on a permanent way, well, they objected, according to Luke's account. They objected to the shouts of the crowd. So the Pharisees told Jesus to rebuke his disciples and make the crowd be quiet. He did more than just refuse. He told them in Luke 19, I tell you, if these were silent, the very stones would cry out. Everything about this moment said, the king has come, not as the conqueror of Rome, but as God's prophesied one bringing peace. It is exactly as Zechariah 9:9 foretold. Behold, your king is coming to you, righteous and having salvation is he, humble and mounted on a donkey. How does this benefit you? Well, since the event thoroughly and completely reveals Jesus as king, then you and I must figure out what it means for us. So let's note these 5 realizations. First, it defines our position with Jesus. He is so superior. We are just servants. Luke recorded in Luke 17, so you also, when you have done all that you were commanded, say, we are unworthy servants. We have only done what was our duty. Secondly, it gives your life a healthy direction. A king's subjects live under his authority. With Jesus reigning, there is no stress in determining what is the best way to live. Now, the king gives us direction and purpose to everything in life. The third realization, it provides you with God's security. A good king supplies what his subjects need. Listen to Matthew chapter 7, where Jesus said, or which one of you, if his son asks him for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will give him a serpent? If you then, who are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give good things to those who ask him? Fourth, the opportunity at God's peace is in your control. Jesus came riding on the symbol of peace, not a horse, the symbol of war. When we let Jesus operate as king, his ways can remove the offenses that keep you and God separated. You, by choosing Jesus as king, will have peace with God. Listen to Paul as he wrote to the Ephesians, "For he himself is our peace, who has made us both one, and has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility, by abolishing the law of commandments expressed in ordinances, that he might create in himself one new man in place of two, so making peace, and might reconcile us to God in one body through the cross, thereby killing the hostility." And the fifth realization, your faith can grow. The disciples watched Jesus predict events exactly. Every time you obey Jesus like they did, you get to see your King better and better, and your faith grows more and more. Trust, when combined with obedience, leads toward a deeper and more durable faith. So I'm asking you today to take note of some very striking details in this message. Jesus arranged every detail: the location, the time, the exact animal, what the response should be, the crowd and how they would respond, and the prophecy he was fulfilling. This certainly was not an unorganized, spontaneous act of enthusiasm. Jesus was purposefully fulfilling the Old Testament prophecy of Zechariah 9:9. For centuries, Israel had waited for their king. And on this specific day, the signs that he was here were unmistakable. Yet, even in that day, some misunderstood him. They wanted a political deliverance from the Romans. They wanted their political freedoms again. But Jesus didn't ride the donkey for political reasons. He was trying to show them and us how he came as a spiritual ruler over a spiritual kingdom. After all of this, though, the question of the day still stands, and you need to answer them. Is Jesus your king, or is he just another politician? On that day in Jerusalem, people laid coats on the road. Today, the road may be different, but the questions are the same. Will you recognize him as king? Will you submit to him as king? Will you trust him as king? Because when Jesus truly enters your life as king, he does not conquer you by force. He reigns through peace. If you want to know more about following Jesus as Lord and King, please reach out to us. Call us at the number that you see here on the screen. We'll supply you with a needed Bible-based answer as quickly as possible. Or you could also look around on timelesstalks.net and find lots of videos on lots of subjects. Or you can check our growing list of transcripts and research notes on a variety of topics. Just use the search box on the website. And we would love for you to sign up for our newsletter and or text messaging services. Everything we do is free, all in an effort to let you know how much we care about you. We're very thankful that you've watched this video. We hope to see you every day. So until tomorrow, well, goodbye for now.